Hey mama, welcome to the Milk and Metabolism podcast, where we break down what's actually going on in your body postpartum so you can lose weight while breastfeeding without any guessing. So I'm Morgan, I'm a certified nutritionist. I've helped hundreds of moms lose anywhere between 15 to one mama even lost 90 pounds postpartum without sacrificing their milk supply. And today we're going to dive into one of the biggest frustrations that I hear from moms, which is why the scale isn't moving even when you're doing everything right. So I'm just going to go ahead and say what I know at least one of you needs to hear right now is that you're not crazy and you're probably not doing as much wrong as you maybe think you are, because I cannot tell you how many breastfeeding moms that I talk to who feel like they're doing everything right. They're trying to eat better. They're more aware of what they're eating. They're trying to move their body, and yet the scale just sits there, or worse, it even goes up sometimes when you're breastfeeding. And then your brain goes straight to like, what's wrong with me? Why is this not working? Do I just need to try harder? And that's the part that honestly makes it the most frustrating for you, because most of the time it's not a discipline problem. It's just a missing piece. There's a missing piece to the puzzle. So today I want to walk you through the biggest reasons why I see this happening, and most importantly, what to actually do about that. So we're just going to get right into it. So the first issue that I typically see when moms are not seeing progress on the scale despite their best effort is, number one, you're actually not in a calorie deficit, even if you think you are. So this is one that no one really wants to hear, but it's the one that changes everything when you really truly understand it. And for a lot of moms, they think they're in a calorie deficit, but they're not. And before you immediately go to, well, I'm definitely not overeating, hear me out, okay? So when you're breastfeeding, your body needs more calories, right? Period. But the problem is nobody tells you how much more, right? There's conflicting advice. There's the people that say it's 300 calories more, and there's 700 calories more. There's 1,000 calories more, which is honestly excessive to me. But your body does need more. So what most moms do is one of two things. So they're either way under eating and stall their metabolism because their body kind of freaks out that they're not getting enough fuel, or they overestimate what breastfeeding burns and accidentally eat too much. And I've seen both a lot with the women that I worked with. I've had moms come to me thinking that they should be eating just 1,800 calories when their body actually needs closer to like 2,500 calories just to function well as a breastfeeding mom. And then I've had moms eating 3,000 plus calories thinking that they need it for their supply when their body really doesn't need that much. So they feel stuck either way. So this is why actually getting your actual numbers and your unique numbers to you matter so much, because you're not guessing, you're not going off of what someone told you on TikTok. Because once you actually know what your body needs, everything can start to click, right? Your energy stabilizes, your cravings can calm down, and your weight can finally start moving again without actually hurting your supply. So I'm going to link my Breastfeeding Calorie Calculator in the show notes for you, because this is usually one of the biggest light bulb moments for moms who work with me, is actually getting really clear on how much they specifically need to be eating. And I will tell you right now that most moms are shocked when they see that number. It's usually because it's typically a little bit higher than they expected. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually what allows your body to feel safe enough to actually let go of the fat, okay? So number two is you are underfilling earlier in the day and then paying for it later. So this one right here, if I could fix one habit for most moms, it would be this. You're not eating enough earlier in the day, and then by afternoon or nighttime, you feel like you have zero control. And it's not because you lack willpower. It's typically because your body is trying to play catch up. And what I see all the time with the moms that I work with is they're typically maybe skipping breakfast or barely eating anything for breakfast, maybe just having coffee, maybe just grabbing a couple bites of their toddlers plates, and then, feeling really ravenous later on in the day. Or maybe they're grabbing something small for lunch, but it's not anything that's going to sustain them for the rest of the day. And then they're feeling exhausted and they're starving and they're craving everything later. So your body goes into like, we need energy now mode, especially when you're breastfeeding. Like we talked about, your nutritional needs are higher. Your nutritional needs are higher, and your body will make you eat by increasing those cravings, increasing your hunger. And that's when snacking, the sweets, the overeating at night happens. So instead of trying to be better at night, we fix this by fixing the first half of our day. So a general rule that I like to use with most of my clients is front loading your calories, your fiber, and your protein so that you're setting yourself up for success earlier in the day. So your breakfast should be around 500 to 600 calories. Typically, again, these are generalized guides, so I go a little bit more in depth with the moms that I work with, getting a little bit more personalized. So just keep this in mind. But your breakfast should be around 500 to 600 calories with at least 30 grams of protein and at least 10 grams of fiber, or at least close to 10 grams of fiber. Sometimes it's hard to get that 10 grams of fiber in breakfast to keep us fuller. And then you want at least 10 grams of fat as well, sometimes more, typically more. I like to do closer to like 20 grams of fat at breakfast to slow down digestion. And I know that might sound like a lot if you're used to eating light in the morning, but this is usually what keeps your blood sugar stable and steady, your energy up, and your hunger then gets a little bit more predictable. You're not completely ravenous the rest of the day. When you hit that first meal right, the rest of your day gets so much easier. I'm telling y'all right now. You're not then craving, you're not fighting cravings all day. You're not trying to white knuckle it through the evening. You just feel normal. You just feel normal. And if you're someone who's like, I don't even know how to build meals like that, I don't even know where to start. How do I get 10 grams of fiber at breakfast? I actually created a meal planning membership. So it's super simple. It's family-friendly meals that are already balanced for you. I've already done the heavy work for you, so you don't have to think about it. You just open up the meal plan. You don't have to use it as a meal plan. You can use just the recipes. You make the meals, which are really simple. They're not like 5 billion ingredients long. They're typically like 5, maybe 10, if that. But you just, I've done all the heavy lifting for you for the meal plans or for the recipes, and then you pick the ones that you like, and then you just move on with your day. And we've also included ones I keep in mind dairy-free, gluten-free, vegetarian options, so all of that. So I will leave that information in the show notes as well if you're like feeling really stuck on like, okay, what does that look like? How do I get that many calories, that much protein, and that much fiber in my breakfast? So, and it's not just breakfast, obviously, it's lunch and dinners as well. Okay, so number 3 is your weekends are quietly undoing your progress. Okay, so this one, I want you to really sit with this one for a second, because weekends are 1/3 of your week. So if you're consistent Monday through Friday, but then weekends feel completely different, they're more relaxed, they're a little bit more unstructured, we're more like, we'll just figure it out as we go, then you're only consistent about 2/3 of the time. And that alone can also keep you stuck. So this doesn't mean that you can't enjoy your weekends. It just means that we need a little bit of structure going into your weekends. So instead of trying to be perfect, I want you to ask yourself, what do I do during the week that actually works for me? Is it having that go-to breakfast that's, really balanced and makes you feel really good the rest of the day? Is it eating a little bit more at consistent times? Is it having meals already planned out for you? And then how can you carry just 1 or 2 of those things into your weekend? It doesn't have to be one of those things, but I want you to really think about what makes you successful in the week and what's like 1 or 2 things that you can carry into the weekend. And one of the easiest ones is, again, keeping your balanced breakfast, because that alone sets the tone for the rest of the day. Another simple structured one I love is having 2 balanced meals and then having 1 more like flexible meal. It's not a cheat meal, just having a meal that isn't maybe perfectly balanced or something that you normally wouldn't have. And also, are you actually planning for your weekends? So a lot of moms are only shopping for 5 days out of their week. So by the time that the weekend hits, you're totally out of options, and then you're just relying on whatever is easiest during the weekends. So planning for and shopping for 7 days instead of 5 can make a huge difference. Or going grocery shopping on Fridays so that you have that plan going into the weekend. You have the meals and the food that you need going into the weekend, instead of getting to the end of the week and realizing that you have nothing left and then you're just trying to wing it. Okay, number 4 is sleep, stress, and your nervous system, which are playing a bigger role than you actually think. So this one doesn't get talked about enough, especially postpartum. You can have the perfect plan on paper, but if your body is constantly stressed or overstimulated or exhausted, which many times it is postpartum, it's going to feel so much harder to follow through, because your body is literally trying to survive the day to day. And then this shows up again with more cravings, more emotional eating, lower energy, less consistency. So instead of trying to push harder, which, a lot of us think that we just need to push through, I want you to think about adding support. So every day, just choosing 1 to 2 small things that help you to feel more like yourself again. And this isn't about doing more. This isn't about taking 30 minutes to do deep breathing because that's not realistic. It's about regulating your nervous system. So this could look like just going outside for 5 minutes when you wake up, sitting down and eating one meal without distractions, putting away your phone, right? Putting your phone down and just breathing for a minute, not 30, but just taking like 5 deep breaths and being really intentional about that. This could look like listening to something that lifts your mood. So maybe that's a playlist that you really, really like, or it's a podcast that you really like. So just finding those things. I like to make like a little note in my phone, like in my notes app, of like things that really help me to feel regulated, and then just taking a couple minutes when you are either nursing your baby or you have 5 minutes to yourself when they're down for a nap, and doing something that's really intentional for you. And again, it doesn't have to take a ton of extra time or effort, but just having those little pockets of time can really, really make a difference. And I know this sounds super simple, but that's actually what reduces like stress eating, and it stabilizes your energy. It supports your hormones as well, and it makes consistency feel a little bit more doable again. And if it helps, you can even jot down what you did at the end of the day, and you'll start to see patterns of what actually helps you to feel better. Okay, last one I want to talk about is water retention and what's called the whoosh effect. So this one messes with your head a little bit more than anything, because the scale is not always telling you the full story, especially when you're breastfeeding, you're sleep deprived, you're stressed out. Your body tends to hold on to water a little bit more easily, so you might be doing everything quote unquote right, but the scale isn't reflecting it yet. And then all of a sudden, you might wake up one morning and drop a couple pounds overnight. That's what we call the whoosh effect. So instead of weighing yourself once and then spiraling, I always recommend weighing yourself at least 3 times a week, taking the average and then paying attention to the overall trend, or even just looking at your lowest number of the week and going off of that if it's too much to, average it out. So if that number is slowly trending down over time, then you're on the right track. So just remembering that it's about data. Weighing yourself is about data and not about judgment. It gives you a good baseline to figure out if things are working. And again, it might be up or down day to day, but the overall trend that you want to see is like week to week, month to month, it's going down. Sometimes it just takes longer. And keeping in mind, again, that the weight on the scale doesn't show the full picture. It is just a measurement. And a lot of times, as you know, it could change based on what you ate, how you slept, your hormones, how much you're pumping or nursing, all of those things. So just taking that data can be really, really helpful and get you kind of like out of your mind about like you doing things wrong or things not working. Just taking those averages or taking that lowest number can be really, really helpful in seeing trends and making decisions based off of data and not your emotions. So the honest truth is that none of this is complicated once you see it clearly, but when you're in it, when you're tired, when you're overwhelmed, when you're trying to piece things together on your own, it's really hard to know what actually matters, what to focus on next, and what's just noise. And that's the piece that most moms are missing, not more information. We do not need more information, but structure, clarity, and someone just stepping back to say, hey, this is the one thing that is going to move the needle for you right now, because you don't need to fix everything at once. You just need to focus on the right next thing. So if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, this is me, I see it now, but I don't want to keep spinning my wheels trying to figure this out on my own, that's exactly what I help moms do in my program. We take all of this, your schedule, your body, your goals, your breastfeeding season, and we build a plan that actually fits your life. And then I walk with you through it so that you're not second guessing every step. I'll link everything for you in the show notes, but either way, I hope this has given you some clarity today, because you are not stuck. You've just been missing a few key pieces, and now that you have hopefully some clarity, hopefully you're stepping away from this thinking like, I don't need to do this perfectly. And I want you to ask yourself, what's just one thing that stood out the most? Is it your numbers? Is it the breakfast? Is it the weekends? Whatever it might be, I want you to start there, because when you focus on the right things, progress will start to feel a lot less frustrating instead of trying to fix everything or all the things all at once. I'm really glad that you're here, and I hope that this gave you a little bit more clarity and a lot more confidence moving forward. I'll link the calculator, the meal plans, all of that information in the show notes, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Thanks for being here, guys.